Hello there, welcome back to Hometowns. And this week I've got Real Roses, how exciting. But who gets the best parent slash brother award? What do you think? Was it Charity's family, Gabi's, Kaity's mom? And let's face it, Bobby was just a little bit scary. Alrighty, make sure that you subscribe to my channel and let's dive into Hometowns. Welcome to Reality TV Therapy with me, Dr. Diane. We start off Hometowns in Vermont, Gabi's family, and the maple syrup date. Now, Gabi, as we know, she came to Zach right out of the limo with syrup, and now we're going to have a whole day of a maple. But Gabi and Zach, I like that they have fun together. They're poking holes in the poor trees. It's clearly fall, but yeah, the girl's a little bit dry, if you know what I mean. Now, what's interesting is I had to look this up. Does maple syrup actually come out of trees like that? Well, fascinating enough, not during this time of the year, because maple only comes out of the trees during winter times, and you can tap into it anywhere from February till as late as April. But no wonder they weren't going to be getting any sap out of that tree. So just a little FYI. But can we talk about Zach's choice of pancake toppings? Because we saw this at the end in the outtake.
Mustard.
What?
But yellow mustard, mayonnaise, like what? And Gabi has never tried ranch dressing. Oh my goodness. Finally, when we get to the family, I really did enjoy watching Gabi's family. She comes from a big, loving family. And that little dog, can we say hello? My goodness. Her father, what a sweet guy. He calls himself a hopeless romantic, and I love that about him. Now, it took Gabi's dad only, a minute or two to fall in love with Gabi's mother. And while this story is cute, I've said this, I don't know, a few videos back, it's kind of a hard narrative when you're beyond high school already and you haven't fallen in love like that. To hear your parents' story, because it kind of felt like Gabi was, I don't know, glazing her eyes over a little bit. Like, yeah, Dad, I know, but it doesn't work that way in the real world. And I do think that Gabi uses a lot of humor to cope. Now, here's my thoughts about Gabi. And I like her a lot. I think she's going to be down to the final two. But I can't shake the idea that some of Gabi's pieces are a little bit of acting. Remember, I mentioned last week that she was found reading this book. And so for me, it feels like there's just a little bit much here. And I'm not sure what is truth. Like, has Gabi been a little bit coddled with her family? But when she says things to Zach like, oh, I'll miss you.
Really?
Don't forget about me.
It feels like, was this a reach? Was this a little bit too much? Because while I like Gabi and I think she's fun and I think they have a lot of fun together, it seems like this type of attitude is not going to work for Zach. It's going to be too much. Even Gabi's mother says Gabi really needs someone who's going to create safety for her. And I'm all about that. You know me as a couples therapist, I'm all about together creating safety. But if Gabi is looking for someone to make her safe and she can't make herself safe in a relationship, that's a little bit of a high expectation and one that I just don't think that Zach can match. So I loved this family. I really did. At first, I thought, well, they'll be a little bit on the quiet side, maybe a little bit boring. Loved the family. But do I think that Gabi is a fit for Zach? Not entirely. Okay, let's go to hometown number 2. What's not to love about New York? And Ariel is looking like a stunning woman in this dress. I really loved her boots. It's fall. It looks like a beautiful day in New York. Now, also, I imagine Ariel with someone, I don't know, just a little bit more sophisticated. Someone maybe older, maybe wiser, more mysterious. But I love the vibe of their date. Seeing parts of the city, people playing chess, going to the pizza parlor. It's a gastronomique. How do you say that? Gastronique? Gastronic? Wait, time. It's a real delight in terms of the palate for the date that they are on. They go get pizza. They go to the speakeasy and have espresso martinis. And I really do enjoy getting to know more of Ariel because I feel like we have been robbed. Of all the people, we've seen the least amount of Ariel. And she has such a fascinating history. I can actually relate. While my parents are Polish They had, my dad was involved in World War II. My parents both had a very difficult time, are also immigrants. So I really enjoyed hearing more about Ariel's story. And she's so connected to being first generation American and their story. So she's also talking about her brother, Bobby, who threatened to harm her last boyfriend. And you can see Zach going, this is just a little bit too much. But they keep going and they go to the Jewish deli. He's eating tongue and they're eating gefilte fish. And I thought that that was just a really nice way. And what Ariel says is, I have this big Ukrainian Jewish family. And if you meet them, you kind of come into my world. Now, what I thought was really interesting as a choice was this restaurant. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you thought about it too, because most of the time, and given that this is this big family, I really did anticipate meeting in a home. And usually the restaurants are kind of reserved for when parents are divorced or there's something sort of awkward. And yet here we are. And so mom shows up. She's got her glasses on. I'm like, okay, that's an interesting choice inside a restaurant. She's wearing her sunglasses. Was something happening there for her? Did she just have her eyes done? I wondered. And of course, Bobby is kind of the main character here. But the big older brother protecting his younger sister as the trope has been a little bit overdone for me. And I just wonder, we're giving this guy a lot of attention, and he has some really tough questions. Well, not really tough, but basic questions, shall we say, right? Like, do you know my sister's birthday? Do you know her middle name? And you can see that Zach's just kind of checked out. Like, I'm getting grilled here. I'm just going to run through the paces. Yeah, I don't know. And after all, when you get to know somebody, that doesn't really matter. And I felt like, honestly, his answers were a little bit dismissive. But I didn't see a ton of affection between these two. There's not like what we see with him and Kaity, a lot of hugging, touching, kissing. So I feel like overall Ariel is just really cool. And it just doesn't feel to me like Zach's that kind of guy, that he's, again, sophisticated enough. And that he's really making a strong case for fitting into her family. Even the dad is talking about Zach, and Ariel confronts her father. He has a name, Dad. His name is Zach. So I appreciate that Ariel really knows herself and was standing up. But at the end, it felt a little bit off. To me, it was like when Ariel said, oh, my brother grilled me. I'm sure he grilled you too, but overall it went great. It felt a little bit to me like Tino saying, oh, that visit went great, when really we know it didn't go perfect. So I'm not sure where Ariel lands. We will find out. All right, so that brings me to the third hometown, Charity. And we're in Georgia. What's not to love about Charity and her family, the Lawsons? They are sweet. She mixes in some friends and her brother. It's a huge crowd. Can't say enough good things about them. And her brother, Nehemiah. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing that right. Nehemiah. He is really proving to be the protective older brother, but not in the same way that Bobby was, right? He is kind and gentle, and Charity talks about them being best friends, and he's really looking out for her and doesn't talk down to her. It doesn't have this way that he's going to surpass her needs or her emotions. And I thought this was lovely. It turns out that he lives in Charlotte and he's a dentist, and he's got quite a social media presence. What a lovely brother. Would love to see a man like this be the Bachelor. But what's missing for me in this date with Charity is, again, we're not seeing a ton of Zach and Charity together. It feels like they're kind of separate, right? Charity is connecting with her friends, but she's a tearful person, wanting to let them know that she's happy through the tears and letting them know that the process is going well. I really like Charity's mother too. She's very kind, and we know where Charity gets her emotionality, because mom is crying too, and there's a sweet moment between mother and daughter. Her name is Vicky. Charity's mother, if we reflect back, she's the first Black mother on the show since Rachel Lindsay. Do you realize that? Ever since then, the Black leads and the contestants on Hometowns, they had white or Asian mothers. Tasha, Matt, Ivan, Bree, Michelle. So this was nice to see. But really, you get the sense that Charity is a more secure person because she has this loving family. everyone trusts Charity in terms of her choices for herself. And you can just see that everyone who knows Charity really adores her, her friends. And so now we leave that date, and literally Charity says, well, it couldn't have gone any better. And it's completely true. And we know there's nothing to be said about that. And then they go and they do a little country western line dancing. And I'm like, oh, Zach, you should know how to country western dance if you live in Texas. But he seems a little bit off. And she then says to him that she is falling in love with him. And, oh, my heart sinks just a little bit. But I think the timing of that was really perfect. And I really felt the genuine sincerity about that. All right, let's go to hometown number 4. Now, the final hometown is usually the most telling in the order of how they're displayed. Now, that's different than the order in which they're filmed, because usually the way the hometowns are filmed is literally from east to west coast. And that actually makes sense, because if the bulk of the hometowns were on the East Coast, now we're in Texas before on our way to LA. So I do believe that this was filmed last. We are in Austin, Texas, and this was an interesting choice because Kaity's family is from Florida, but they're choosing to do this in Texas. And I personally really like this, as you've known, I've said from the whole time, please find somebody that's in the same hometown. Yes, I know we can joke, you can find them on Hinge. Why do you need to go on a TV show? But this makes it so much simpler. You don't have to move. You have the same things in common. And I liked that, Kaity's driving because this is her date, but they're just doing some normal things. To me, this is like so refreshing. It's not this over the top bungee jumping kind of date. It's grocery shopping. What kind of cereal do you like? What kind of pasta? Get me some flowers. Come to my house. Help me put together my IKEA furniture. Then we've got the bed scene and like in Friends, I thought that was hysterical. So what a queen Kaity is to get Zach to help her put her place together. But here's my sadness on this. So now Kaity talks a little bit more about her 7-year-long toxic relationship. My gosh, again, wow. And all these women, Charity, also her relationship was 6 years long that had some fidelity. These women are staying in these long toxic relationships way too long. And so no wonder some of them are going to be very cautious. Like bigger picture, as I said last week, we don't see the women saying, I'm falling in love with you as easily as we've seen in the past. But part of me is thinking, is it because they're disclosing about their past, or is it just that they really did have this past? And so if that's the case, no wonder. But I liked Kaity's mom, Anne. She seemed eager and she really liked Zach, but she really liked that her daughter was happy. And Kaity's saying some lovely things about Zach. Everybody approves of Zach. The aunt approves. We don't see the other Kaity's aunt. We see an approving aunt. And what about that Airbnb? Can we talk about that? It was like inspired by West Elm. I don't know. We're all sitting by like a stairwell. Interesting choice. But that felt produced, and yet, okay, I'm all right with it. As long as the feelings are there. And certainly Kaity is not holding back. And the look and the smile on Zach's face, it's like, he's going to choose her, because you can see his body language. He relaxes in a different way with Kaity than he does with the other women. And so I really liked this date. I did. I like seeing couples doing, again, normal things. And so to me, that was a highlight. So of all the hometowns, of course, you feel like Zach could fit really well with this family. The mom seemed very eager. Everyone else seemed to really embrace Zach. And Kaity, more than anything, I think she is just a huge fan of his. She really does know how to say nice things to Zach, and I think they just have an interesting connection. Okay, so now we get to the rose ceremony. We're back in LA. And all of the women have already said their piece. In the past we've had, hey, can I interrupt you? There's something I haven't told you. I'm falling in love with you. But we're all good. The women are lined up. And this was an interesting order, right? He gives the roses to Kaity, I believe was number 1. Excuse me. It was Ariel number 1. Then it was Kaity. Then the final choice is between Gabi and Charity. And you could see for the first time, Gabi's kind of like anxious about that. And of course, he ends up choosing Gabi over Charity. Now, as he's walking Charity out, he's telling her that, he was sick to his stomach and he was upset about this all day, finally, more affect, the affect that we're going to talk to on the Women Tell All that was missing with Jesse. So it's good he's kind of coming forward and talking about how hard this is. And that he even might be making a mistake, that he's grateful to get to know her. It's a gut punch. You deserve, Charity, you deserve all the love that I can't give you. And, she kind of stops him, and I appreciate that. She's like, okay. And even in the limo, she's like, I don't know, what does that freaking mean? As we see that she's upset. But again, it's not a surprise to me also because I do think he's more intrigued by Ariel. And now we're going to get into next week about Sex Week. And of course, the producers want us to be confused because they want us to keep watching. But I'm not going to be intimate with anyone, but I've been intimate with one person. We're going to have to wait to see what that actually is. So we'll stay tuned. Let's land this with a reality check because this is a really important one for you if you're dating. Because I want to talk about how to vet a partner. If you have a partner, and most times in real life dating, you're going to be dating them more than a few weeks before they meet your family. But here's what's really important is the questions that you want to ask your family. Because it's not so important like, what do you think? Do you like him? Do you like Zach? The question is, do you think Zach is a good fit for me? Because we're back to, this is the episode where the women are choosing Zach too. It's not just his choice. But for you in dating, is your family, or they'll say, oh, well, I can't really say much about him. I just met him. I'm like, that's a cop-out because we know that people form fast opinions. But do you think this partner is good for me? What do you like about us together? Do you think they would be good for me? Because that is the key. Your friends and your family know you better than anyone. And here's another tip for you when you're vetting a partner. You want your opposite sex friends to vet them. Why? Okay, so you're Charity and you have your female friends there. Oh, Zach, he's so adorable, the way that he looks at you. But a man, like Charity's brother, will also probably suss out Zach quicker. Because other men get a vibe on other men that your same-sex friends, right, the women aren't going to necessarily pick up on. So vetting your partner is so important. Get lots of people's opinions. But how do they see you as a couple? Is this partner bringing out the best in you? Because that is the key question. Not do they like him, but do they like who you are with them? Okay, I hope that helps. Again, I want to bring some lessons to all of this. And let me know in the comments what you thought about the home visits and who was your favorite. Okay,